This is a history revision video which is going to look today at the role and powers of the American president. Now, it's the first video in the second half of the Civil Rights and Presidents unit. In terms of qualifications to be president, there's not that many really. The president must be American, in that they must have been born in the USA. They must be at least 36 years old at the time of standing for election. They must have been resident in the USA for the previous 14 years, and since 1951 they cannot have served more than one term already. The only president that's ever served more than two terms was Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was president between 1932 and 1945. See, I got the dates wrong then, which proves you have to always go and check my dates. In terms of powers, well, the president is authorised to form a cabinet of heads of departments of state. He also has the ability to pardon people convicted of crimes and can temporarily fill vacancies in the federal government. Those are his major powers. His duties are surprisingly limited, actually, things that he actually has to do. He delivers the annual State of the Union address. He can put forward legislation, so he can propose new laws. Article 2 of the American Constitution says that, quote, "The executive power shall be invested in a President of the United States." That's really vague. It's always been vague, right from the very start of creating America. They weren't sure whether they wanted a president or a king or what title they were going to give them and what were they going to do. So it's never really been defined or developed much more than that. In terms of judging a president's success, which is something we were doing a lot over the course of this unit, a successful president is judged on how well they implement existing federal laws, how well they initiate new laws and programs which specifically address the needs and development of the nation, and how well they manage the economy. At the end of the day, it's those three issues that really decide whether it's a successful or unsuccessful president. The only difference would be if it was a time of war. And then it's quite simple. Did you win it? And did you win it quickly? So the major challenges that face an American president. Well, first of all, they've got to put together a team of people that will lead the departments across the American government that will administer government policy. They've also got to exert effective political control over all of the civil servants who will implement that policy. Civil servants are employed and will stay employed no matter who has won the election as president. So you'll have a guy coming in as president who is then going to have to work with several thousands of people that have spent 4 years working for somebody else. So it can cause clashes. The president must also maintain an effective focus on his own political agenda. In the first 4 years, every president is aware they want to get re-elected. So anything that they do must not harm or damage their chances of re-election. And increasingly, presidents have a very limited time in which they can establish their reputation as an effective president. If you like, their opportunity to make a first impression. Now they tend to be judged after 100 days. If they're successful in that 100 days, it can buy them a couple of years of good grace and support. Screw up in the first 100 days and already people are talking about you're not going to get re-elected. Let's look at how they start off the job. American elections are always held in the first week in November every 4 years. Whoever wins that election is inaugurated as president in the third week of January. They need to appoint a cabinet who will run those 15 government departments. They can't change those departments in any way, so they can't increase them or decrease them, and they can't alter their responsibilities. Those heads of departments are also expected to represent the population of America at that particular time. There's what's known as the EGG formula, E-G-G. Ethnic groups, gender and geography. So that balance of 15 heads of departments must represent that. So you must have a certain proportion of black Americans and male to female and north-south, east-west, and increasingly middle state representatives. The president also needs to persuade the people who are going to get those jobs to actually move to Washington, perhaps for 8 years. The people he's going to pick are top business professionals. He's probably going to have to get them to take a significant pay cut and move away from their homes and regular places and regular jobs for a period of time. In 2006, American heads of department were being paid $175,700 a year. It's a lot of money, but it's probably half of what they would have been earning in businesses. There is also the White House staff. The White House is the president's place of work, and everything that happens in the White House is devoted to him and to his success. And he will choose personally the staff that work there. They're his closest and most trusted advisors. They will provide information and analysis of key issues to him and him directly. They will evaluate the political and the legal significance of any decisions he makes. They'll write his speeches, they'll organise his diary, they'll make sure they organise everything to do with his life, where he goes, who he speaks to, when he speaks to them, how long he speaks to them for. They will also liaise with Congress, so that Congress will support as much of the president's programme and plans as possible. They also act as the doorway to the president. They filter who and what gets access to the president. They also monitor the work of executive departments to ensure they're carrying out what the president wanted them to do. On occasions, it has led to presidents being isolated because they surround themselves very closely by close advisors who restrict access very strictly. It's particularly happened with Nixon and with Reagan, that it was very difficult for outsiders to get into the president. There's also the National Security Council. They're responsible for coordinating foreign and military policy. And presidents tend to rely very, very heavily on the NSC for advice to do with foreign and military policy. These are highly specialised affairs and areas. You'll probably have on the NSC members of the military. So it would be stupid of a president to think he can just do whatever he wants. He needs to talk very closely to the NSC. In terms of elections, elections happen on the first Tuesday of November every 4 years for president. There are also Congress. Congress has two houses, the House of Representatives and the House of Senate. The House of Representatives have primary responsibility for taxes and are elected every 2 years. There are 435 representatives in the House based on the size of the population. Senators are elected for 6 years to focus on long-term consequences, and all states have 2 senators, no matter how big or how small the state is. Often, presidential candidates are former senators. It is seen as a pathway to the presidency. The president and the vice president are elected directly by the American people. Mentioned the State of the Union address. That happens around about the 20th of January every year. It's now a televised address in which the president identifies the key issues he believes need to be addressed. And he outlines the bills that he will send to Congress within the next 12 months. On the first Monday in February each year, the President's budget is sent to the House of Representatives, and this contains the President's judgments of costs of his legislative proposals and the level of taxation needed to fund them. In terms of getting a bill through Congress, it works in this way. The President proposes a bill. So he says, this is what I want to do, these are the things that I want in it, and puts it to Congress. Congress has the power and the right to amend it. They can take some parts of it out, they can add bits to it, they can add provisions to it which are known as riders or earmarks to benefit their districts. It can lead to what's known as Christmas tree bills, where a bill is loaded with lots of presents for the most influential members of Congress. These were bribes or ways of getting them to support it. Types of presents Types of presents include meetings to put forward cases, invitations to the White House, an offer of a presidential visit to that congressman's district, federal investment or job creation in their district, that kind of stuff. Ultimately, though, the president has the power of a veto. He can stop or kill a bill. If the bill that's finally put forward has been amended so many times it doesn't look anything like the bill he put forward, he can veto it, and it just doesn't happen. So an awful lot of time and presence and discussions and bribery can be wasted. Finally, the president has a role as the head of state. He is the living symbol of the nation. He represents the United States of America at home and abroad. So part of his role is going to meet with other foreign heads of state. He will attend the G20 summit meetings, which happen 3 times a year. He has the White House as his own personal place of work, and everything happens there is designed to serve him. He has his private plane, which is known as Air Force One. And he has a range of ceremonial duties, some of which are slightly weird. He hosts visiting dignitaries, and that includes royal families, it includes presidents, it includes prime ministers and so on. He has the power to give awards and medals. He lights the national Christmas tree. He throws the first ball of the Major League Baseball season, and every year at Thanksgiving he gets to pardon a turkey. It's great being president, isn't it?